A UK startup just released a titanium smart ring for $199. No subscription, no hidden fees, and claims it tracks your sleep with 97% accuracy. That's less than half the price of an Oura Ring. And if that number is even close to real, it changes how most people should think about sleep tracking entirely. But there's an important detail about that accuracy claim most people are missing, and it has everything to do with how these rings actually read your body. We'll get to that. The ring is called the Leep Ring, made by a company called Leap Health out of the UK. It launched in January 2026, and it's built around a simple idea. Sleep tracking shouldn't cost you $350 and a monthly subscription just to understand whether you slept well. On paper, the specs look surprisingly competitive. Aerospace-grade titanium shell, 2.6 millimeters thick, actually slimmer than the latest Oura. 8 days of battery life on the ring, plus a charging case that holds another 60 days of power. PPG sensors for heart rate and blood oxygen, a temperature sensor, an accelerometer for movement, and HRV monitoring, heart rate variability, which is your nervous system's way of telling you how recovered you actually are. Water resistant to 50 meters. And one feature that even the most expensive ring on the market doesn't have. More on that later. Now compare that to the Oura Ring 4, which starts at $349 and requires a $599 per month subscription to access full insights. Over 2 years, that's nearly $500. The closest budget alternative, the Amazfit Helio Ring at around $150, comes with only 3 size options and an app that reviewers consistently describe as limited. The Leap sits right between them at $199. So the obvious question is, what are you actually giving up at this price point? And the honest answer is, some things, but maybe not the things you'd expect. Here's what most people assume about smart rings. They think the ring on their finger is basically a mini sleep lab. You put it on, fall asleep, and in the morning it tells you exactly how much deep sleep, light sleep, and REM you got, down to the minute. That's not quite how it works. Every smart ring, Oura, Samsung, Leap, all of them, uses the same core technology. It's called photoplethysmography, or PPG. Think of it like shining a tiny flashlight through your skin. The light bounces off your blood vessels, and the sensor reads the changes in blood flow to estimate your heart rate, your blood oxygen, and from those signals, your sleep stages. Now here's where it gets interesting. Ever wondered why nurses clip that sensor to your finger in hospital, not your wrist? Same principle. Your finger has denser blood vessels and less fatty tissue, which means rings tend to get a cleaner PPG signal than smartwatches, especially during sleep when your wrist might be pressed into a pillow or twisted under your body. A 2025 systematic review, 107 studies, roughly 100,000 participants, found that smart rings achieved heart rate accuracy with an R-squared of 0.996 and HRV accuracy of 0.98. Those are strong numbers. Sleep detection sensitivity came in at 93 to 96% across the best validated devices. But, and this is the part that most ring companies would rather you not think about, there's a big difference between detecting that you're asleep and accurately identifying which stage of sleep you're in. Even the Oura Ring 4, which has more published clinical validation than every other smart ring combined, achieves roughly 53% accuracy for 4-stage sleep classification in head-to-head studies. 53%. That's essentially a coin flip between light sleep and deep sleep on any given 30-second epoch. So when Leap claims 97% accuracy, what does that actually mean? Most likely, it refers to heart rate detection accuracy, how well the sensor picks up each beat. That's a meaningful metric, but it's not the same as saying the ring correctly identifies your sleep stages 97% of the time. And Leap hasn't published any independent, peer-reviewed validation studies yet. That doesn't mean the ring doesn't work, but it means the claim is self-reported and unverified. Worth knowing before you hand over your money. Now, here's the thing that actually surprised most reviewers. When independent tech publications wore the Leep Ring alongside Oura and Garmin devices for several weeks, the sleep scores, sleep duration, and time asleep versus awake data were remarkably similar. Scores varied by 1 or 2 points on a given night, which is within the normal range of variation you'd see between any 2 consumer devices. Stress tracking told a similar story. Leap uses HRV spot checks throughout the day to estimate your stress levels on a scale from stressed to relaxed, and then highlights the most stressful periods of your day. Compared side by side with Garmin's stress data, the trends matched up well. And the way the app presents this information, clean, simple, no overwhelming graphs, is actually one of its strongest features. Which brings up something worth paying attention to. The real difference between a $200 ring and a $350 ring isn't usually the sensors. Most smart rings in 2026 use essentially the same PPG, accelerometer, and temperature sensor hardware. The gap is in the algorithms, the app, and the long-term software support. Oura has spent years refining its sleep staging algorithms, has an illness prediction feature called Symptom Radar that users genuinely find useful, and recently rolled out metabolic health tracking and a women's health AI model. Leep has none of that, yet. The Insights tab in the app is thin, sometimes linking out to external web pages rather than offering guidance natively. And during early testing, reviewers experienced syncing failures that wiped several days of data. Leep fixed the issue within 48 hours, which is encouraging for a startup, but it's a reminder that first-generation products come with first-generation risks. There are also some hard limitations. The app is iOS only right now, with Android reportedly launching in April 2026. You can only buy it directly from Leep's website, no Amazon, no third-party retailers. There's no sleep apnea detection, no ECG, no advanced health features. And workout tracking is basic at best, though honestly, that's true of nearly every smart ring on the market. The finger moves too much during exercise for PPG sensors to get a reliable signal, so if fitness tracking is your main priority, a smart ring probably isn't your best option regardless of brand. Now, remember that feature the Oura Ring doesn't have? Offline sync. Most smart rings require a cloud connection to process your data. The Leep app can crunch your numbers entirely on device, without Wi-Fi or cellular. If you travel, camp, or simply care about keeping your health data off someone else's server, that's a meaningful differentiator. So who is this ring actually for? If you want the most polished, clinically validated, feature-rich smart ring available, Oura is still the answer, and the subscription is the cost of that ecosystem. If you want the best balance of features and no subscription, the RingConn Gen 2 at $299 is hard to beat, especially with sleep apnea monitoring included. And the Samsung Galaxy Ring at $399 gives you deep integration with Samsung Health if you're already in that world. But if you're someone who primarily wants to understand your sleep patterns, doesn't need advanced AI health insights, and doesn't want to spend more than $200, the Leep Ring is a genuinely strong option. The sleep data is comparable to devices costing twice as much. The app is clean and intuitive. The build quality holds up against premium competitors. And you never pay another penny after the purchase. The real question isn't whether the Leep Ring works right now. Based on everything reviewers and early adopters have found, it does. The real question is whether Leep Health, as a startup, will still be around in 2 years to keep updating the firmware, refining the algorithms, and expanding the app. That's the gamble you take with any first-generation product from a small company, and it's worth factoring into your decision. If you found this useful, subscribing helps us keep making these kinds of evidence-based breakdowns. No fluff, no sponsored scripts, just what the research and the data actually show. £169 for a titanium sleep ring with no subscription. That's not too good to be true, it's just a startup that still has something to prove. And until next time, keep it smart, keep it simple, and keep it healthy.